There are 2.7 million airline passengers traveling throughout the United States daily. In fact, there are over 44,000 flights each and every day covering more than 29 million square miles. Have you ever thought about how those aircraft get from one place to another? Have you ever seen those folks outside of your window with the orange lighted wands waving at the airplane as you're about to leave the gate? Well, those folks with the lightsabers are most definitely not air traffic controllers. Air traffic controllers are professionals responsible for the safety of each and every one of those 44,000 flights traveling throughout the country's airspace. My name is Zachary Bryan, and I have the pleasure of being one of those air traffic controllers that keep you safe, and I have over 10 years of experience. Today, I would like to inform you about the roles of an air traffic controller. The primary task of an air traffic controller is to prevent a collision between aircraft operating within the system. Secondly, they organize and expedite the flow of traffic as it travels throughout the nation's airspace. So, how do air traffic controllers do all of these things? Let's begin with the most important task an air traffic controller has, and that's to prevent a collision. With 16 million flights handled by air traffic control on an annual basis, and over 1 billion passengers and 44 billion pounds of freight, air traffic control keep these aircraft separated according to the rules and regulations dictated by the Federal Aviation Administration. These rules are spelled out in a plethora of manuals, but the basic required separation for all flights is 1,000 feet vertically and 3 miles laterally. There are a number of tools that air traffic controllers use in order to effect this separation. Two of these tools I want to talk about today are vectoring and altitude assignments. Now, vectoring is where an air traffic controller issues a heading for a pilot to fly his airplane. Now, imagine looking at a compass. A heading of 360 would be due north, and a heading of 180 would be due south. Controllers issue these headings for the pilots to fly their aircraft in order to maintain that 3 miles of required lateral separation. Now, controllers also use altitude assignments. That's where an air traffic controller issues a specific altitude for a pilot to maintain. Now, for example, a controller may issue a departing aircraft climb and maintain 7,000 feet. So they'll climb their aircraft to 7,000 feet and maintain that altitude, while they have another aircraft inbound to that airport and they would say descend and maintain 8,000. So that 7,000 for the departing aircraft and 8,000 for the arriving aircraft ensures that they'll get no closer than the required 1,000 feet of vertical separation until after they've passed each other. Now, you might think that if 1,000 feet and 3 miles separation is the minimum, why not put more space in between them? Now, this sounds like a good idea, but there's one major drawback. If you have too much space in between aircraft, you sacrifice efficiency. The second role of an air traffic controller solves this conundrum: organizing and expediting the flow of traffic. Now, organization. This doesn't refer to color coding your sock drawer, but rather taking multiple aircraft from the north, the south, the east, and the west, equidistant from and pointed at the same airport, and figuring out who gets to be first, second, third, fourth. Controllers use their voice to untangle these 4 aircraft, who are all wanting to do the same thing at the same time. This organization or sequence is executed solely based on controller judgment. There isn't a computer program that tells us who gets to land first. It's the air traffic controller who determines who wins that race to the airport. Now, while organization is very important, efficiency is another crucial concern. Certain types of flights, they do take higher precedence over others. Some examples would be emergency aircraft, medevac aircraft, and even presidential aircraft. So if someone has an in-flight emergency, they automatically become priority number 1. We have to get them all the assistance that they need in as fast a manner as possible in order to get that aircraft to a safe landing surface. Now, that may be the airport that they intended to land at, but it may be one that's closer by that we can recommend to them. Medevac aircraft, they're transporting people who require medical assistance in order to potentially save their lives. So, of course, they get to be a priority. They get to go a little bit faster than just your everyday aircraft. Presidential aircraft, it's kind of a big deal. So when the president flies into an airport, and I've had the pleasure of working 2 separate presidents, that's a pre-coordinated movement where all other aircraft have to remain outside of that airspace until the president has landed safely. And that's a national security concern, and so it's obviously taken very seriously. Now, whether it's the President of the United States or just a local aircraft out for a morning sightseeing tour, air traffic control is there to keep you safe. Today, we discussed how the air traffic controllers prevent collisions between aircraft operating within the air traffic control system, and also how they organize and expedite the flow of traffic as it passes through their airspace. As stated in our creed, air traffic controllers are professionals dedicated to the service of the people of all nations, striving constantly toward the improvement of our proficiency, providing the best possible service to all users of the system, and to ensure that we continue to be the safest system on the face of the earth. I'll leave you with a farewell that we often say as we transfer an aircraft to another radio frequency. Good flight.